thank you for joining us today. Today we have our first webinar with newly listed GreenLight Metals. GreenLight is a Wisconsin-focused explorer. The company started trading on the TSX-V mid-April under the ticker GRL. Joining us today is President and CEO Matt Filgate. The format of today. Hi, Matt. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to have you. The format of today's session will be a presentation from Matt, followed by Q&A. So if you have questions, you can enter them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And before we begin, as always, today's presentation will contain forward-looking statements. You can learn more about those in the company's presentation on the website, which was just recently updated. And with that out of the way, over to you, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. This is a very new story. It went public a couple weeks ago, and so we're excited to start marketing it and really kind of get the word out there. Wisconsin's a state that hasn't seen a lot of exploration in the last 20 or 30 years. So we're excited to be the first company to come back to the state and start to explore for VMS deposits across what's called the Panokian Volcanic Belt. We really think that the Panokian Volcanic Belt is a premier VMS district, and we're very excited with some of the prospects and projects that we've been able to accumulate over the last 3 to 4 years. And yeah, I look forward to taking everyone through the presentation and really laying out GreenLight's plans over the next 12 months to explore these projects and really start to advance exploration in Wisconsin. So since the inception of the company in early 2020, which was a spin out of Aquila Resources, we're really focused on laying the groundwork to kind of bring exploration back to the state of Wisconsin. We're in a pretty unique position as we are the only exploration company currently in the state right now. That gives us a very interesting first mover advantage. It allows us to go out, look at previous work that's been done and really accumulate high quality assets, high grade VMS projects, but also early stage anomalies that were never drill tested. And so that's really been the focus for us. We put together a team that was really Wisconsin centric. Once I flip over to the next slide and introduce our management team and board of directors, you'll see that a lot of Wisconsinites sit on the board or are involved heavily in the project. And that's really important for us as a company as we start to move projects forward and do exploration in the state. These board members, they really open up a lot of avenues for us, through community and government level introductions. So it's really important that we've structured our management team that way. Currently, we own 3 deposits in the belt. We have 2 really good VTEM anomalies that we would like to drill test later this year and start to permit, bringing our total number of projects to 5. But we're constantly looking at new opportunities in the belt, going through old historic data and really trying to build out a hierarchy of projects to give us the best chance at success, from a resource perspective, but also from a discovery perspective, as this belt has seen very limited exploration in the past. And having the first mover advantage and the pick of the litter of anomalies, we're able to go out and really increase GreenLight's chance at making a brand new big discovery in the Panokian Volcanic Belt. And the focus for the company, looking at the politics happening in the US right now, is really to push forward critical metal exploration and kind of support the government of the United States on their goals of securing domestic supply chains of critical metals. And so we really believe in this methodology. We think that the decarbonization efforts that are happening across the globe are really important. So this is a really big focus for us as a company, and we're seeing very good support from a federal level and also a state level to start to go out and try and secure these critical metal deposits. Our leadership team, just a quick introduction for myself. I've been working in mineral exploration for the past 15 years, really focused on all stages. I've worked in greenfields exploration, doing project generation, target generation, and resource definition drilling, managing large drill programs. I got involved, one of the founders of Talisker Resources back in 2019, and took on the VP corporate development role there, where I was really focused on project evaluation, raising capital, market awareness. And then this opportunity arose in early 2024. As an exploration geologist, obviously the opportunity to go and explore a underexplored VMS belt with the potential like the Panokian Volcanic Belt was very attractive to me. And so I jumped at the opportunity and very excited to be involved. Dave Carew, our CFO, 15 years in corporate development, investor relations, working in capital markets. He brings a lot to the table. As we went through the process of getting listed, Dave really spearheaded that, and it wouldn't have gotten done without him. So he's really integral into what we're doing, and very big part of the team. Steve Donahue is one of our directors, but he's very engaged and very involved with the company. So he's focused on community relations, permitting, government relations. And so he's very, very important to what we do. And he is from Wisconsin. He has deep roots in Wisconsin with over 30 years of experience permitting projects across the upper Midwest. So he brings a ton of knowledge, and he's very, very important to us progressing forward in the state. And so having a director that's willing to commit that type of time to what we're trying to do in the state is very important. And it also, it really shows the support that we have from our board of directors. A few other directors here, Jason Kosek, former CEO of Integra Resources. He was the one that actually got me involved in GreenLight Metals, and we've worked together for quite a few years. He's got a pretty incredible track record on the M&A side. So he brings a lot of knowledge to the board. Barry Hildred is the ex-CEO of Aquila Resources. That was a parent company to GreenLight Metals. He's our chairman, and he's been involved in a lot of the exploration that was done up at Back 40 in the Michigan side of the Panokian Volcanic Belt. Ryan Bennett, again, someone that brings a lot of capital markets experience. He was one of the founders and partners at RCF out of Colorado. Again, he went to the University of Wisconsin, has deep roots in the state. Gordon Reed was the project manager of the Crandon deposit, which is the large 60 million ton VMS system that was really the focus of BHP back in the late 80s, early 90s. So he's been involved in exploration across Wisconsin and brings a lot of that history of projects maybe that's ended up sitting idle or becoming secondary focus for some of these majors that have a lot of potential. So he's a very important technical guy. A bit of history on Wisconsin. Like most states in the US, it was formed on the back of mining. In the late 1800s, you had the lead and zinc miners come to the state. They were coined, for any football fans or sports fans here, they were coined the Badgers. So that's the official logo of the University of Wisconsin. So there's a rich history of exploration. It wasn't until the 1960s and 70s that we saw modern day exploration enter the state. And mainly focused on the Panokian Volcanic Belt. One of the biggest players was Rio Tinto. They were very focused on belt-wide exploration. They made some pretty incredible discoveries. The Flambeau mine, which they had in production for 5 years, was a great success, very high grade, averaging 4 to 5% copper, 5 to 6 grams per ton gold. It was all up in the oxide layer. And that was direct shipped up to Kidd Creek. So there was no processing of that ore on site. That was a great success story for Wisconsin. But they also did a lot of early stage exploration and were really focused on trying to find new deposits in the belt. If we look at the belt as a whole, the Panokian Volcanic Belt, it's very immature compared to a Snow Lake or a Flin Flon up in Canada. And that's just due to the lack of exploration. So we see a 60 million ton deposit at Crandon, a 17, 18 million ton deposit at Back 40, and a 5 million ton deposit at Bend, or 4.5 million ton deposit at Bend. So we're missing deposits in the belt, and Rio Tinto understood that. And so they did a lot of geophysics. They defined a lot of targets. And unfortunately, in 1997, there was a mining moratorium put into place in the state of Wisconsin, which shut down all exploration. That was repealed in 2017. The Wisconsin Mining for America Act, which was drafted and spearheaded by Congressman Tom Tiffany of Northern Wisconsin. And Steve Donahue, one of our directors, was an author of that and a very integral part of that going forward. So after that was repealed, it really opened the state back up for exploration. That's really the key thing here, is that there's legislation in place to get projects moving forward, to get projects permitted, and a line of sight of 5 years to get a project from start to finish decision point, whether it's going to move forward or not. So that's a real big change from the 1997 to 2017 period in Wisconsin. And so we see an opportunity here to come back in and go explore for these critical metal deposits that the U.S. so desperately needs. And we're seeing good support from the state, and we're seeing good support from the communities in Taylor County, where our Bend project is specifically. So it's very, very encouraging. It's been a roller coaster. The history of Wisconsin has been up and down, but we're very excited about the future, very excited about the support that we're seeing. And the legislation is in place to allow projects to be advanced and move forward. Just a note on share structure and ownership summary here. So currently fully diluted, 77.9 million shares. Our current basic share outstanding, 65 million. So our full market cap right now is 15.6 million. From insider ownership perspective, we have 7%, 22% on the institution side. So Vestcor and Delbert make up a majority of that, both just under 9.9% of the company. And then on the retail and high net worth side, 71%, but about 30% of that is made up between 3 high net worth shareholders who are very excited about what we're doing and very supportive, and are long-term shareholders. So we're very thankful for the shareholder base we have right now. Certainly looking to attract new shareholders as this advances, and we're really looking forward to getting going, getting drilling, and seeing projects start to move forward in the state. Okay, so let's dive into the portfolio. Our flagship assets are Bend project. So this is a VMS deposit, sits in central Wisconsin, pretty close to the historic Flambeau mine that was in production by Rio Tinto. This has just over 4 million tons defined in a historic resource, averaging 2% copper and around 2.3 gram per ton gold, so just under 4% copper equivalent. The deposit itself was only drilled in a 330 meter area, so very tightly constrained. And the previous operator, Jump River Joint Ventures and Aquila Resources, didn't have access to the private land parcel that sat next to the deposit, or right on the margin of the deposit. So we were able to do a deal on that. And so we now have access to the along strike extent of the deposit, and we see potential for this to grow fairly significantly. So our drill program that we have planned is the first phase of it's 2,300 meters, focused on that private land parcel, looking at the along strike extent. So starting right on the margin where there is no mineralization, and then stepping out sequentially to develop an idea of size potential, followed by a phase 2 drill program later this fall that will be more focused on infill and some of the surrounding geophysical targets that sit proximal to the Bend deposit. The Reef deposit, so this is an orogenic vein system, so high-grade shear-hosted veins that sit on the southern part of the Panokian volcanic belt. So it sits along a major suture zone there. It's very high-grade, a historic resource of around 100,000 ounces at 9.2, 9.3 gram per ton. We see multiple structures there. The last time it was drilled was 2012, where we saw the extent of it. So along strike, very high grade, very nice intersects. Those aren't included in that historic resource. So we see growth potential here, very significant growth potential. And so with the price of gold right now, obviously we're very excited to have a high grade deposit in our portfolio, something that has potential multi-million ounce growth potential. So very exciting. We will start permitting that later this year, with the goal of drilling that next January, next February, coming into 2026. Our Lobo and Lobo East projects, these sit over near that historic 60 million ton Crandon deposit. These are high grade zinc, copper deposits. The Lobo project was drilled back in the late 70s, early 80s. Very few drill holes went into it, and the results very, very impressive. 12 meters of 23% zinc, over 1% copper, almost 2% lead, and over a gram per ton gold. So really a major discovery, but never really saw any follow-up work. The focus in that area at that time was Crandon. So some of these proximal deposits and anomalies sat idle, so that most of the capital was invested into Crandon. So that poses an opportunity for us to grow a brand new resource, something big, something high grade, up kind of in that area. The Lobo East is a VTEM, coincident VTEM gravity anomaly that sits about 3 miles away from Lobo. Never been drill tested, a very nice anomaly. So we would like, we'd really like to permit that and get that drilled coming into 2026 as well. The Swede anomaly sits in a southern extension called the Marshfield Greenstone Belt. This is capped by 20 to 40 meters of sandstone. And this is a Rio Tinto geophysical anomaly that they were very excited to drill. Unfortunately, they decided to pack up and leave in the mid-90s, and so they never got to drill test it. What's exciting about it is that it has the potential to be another Flambeau. So a lot of the northern part of Wisconsin was glaciated, and it scraped off all those oxides that sat on top of the VMS deposits. Flambeau was a little window that never was eroded off, and so it was extremely high grade. You can see the percentage down there: 4.6 million tons at 6% copper, 3 gram per ton gold. So their concept was that the sandstone cap preserved the oxide on top of the VMS deposits. So they flew a geophysical program down in the southern part of the belt and found some very, very nice anomalies. They tested one of them called Butler, and they intersected some nice massive sulfide there, but we're never able to go and drill test these other anomalies. So Swede is a high priority for us. We're actually going to be going out there in the next week and a bit to start geophysics on the project. We'd like to use modern VTEM really to understand the depth and extent of that anomaly, and then we'll start to initiate permitting on it with the goal of drilling that this fall, 2025. So just a note on this. This is very important to what we do. Wisconsin's a very water-rich state, and environment is at the top of our minds as a company at all times. So whether it's drilling, running geophysics, whatever we're doing, we are focused on doing it in the most environmentally friendly and compliant way possible as a company. So you can see the photo there, the Flambeau mine, which is a very successful reclamation story. It was an open pit. It sat about 150 feet from the Flambeau River. Very high-grade oxide ore was taken out. It was reclaimed in early 2000s, and now it's a horseback riding park, hiking park. Just a really, really successful story of how reclamation can be done in the state. And so we've used this as an example. It also had a very big impact on the community of Ladysmith, the town that was there, from an economical standpoint. So it was a very important mine to that area, and it was very successful in its production, and it was very successful in its reclamation. So we like to highlight that. GreenLight is also committed to working very closely and being very transparent with the communities that we operate in. We set up community meetings. We would like to discuss our plans with anyone and everyone, and it's really important to us that we have that line of communication and that transparency as a company, because we want this to be a success. We want to bring mineral exploration and mining back to the state of Wisconsin, create a new industry, create jobs, and do it efficiently, but do it in a way that is extremely environmentally sensitive. This isn't the 1970s and 1960s anymore. We have to follow regulation, and we have to follow our permit to a T, and we uphold that as a company. That's part of our core beliefs. We work with the Department of Natural Resources at a state level. They're very diligent in their permitting process, which we respect. And so it's important to us that we maintain that relationship and we uphold that high level of environmental regulation. Okay, so why are we exploring for VMS deposits? What is a VMS deposit? Why are we attracted to them? A VMS deposit forms as a black smoker in a small underwater volcanic chain. Typically, when you find one massive sulfide deposit, there's usually more around, so they form in clusters, and they're a breadbasket of different metals. So typically, you'll get lead, zinc, silver, copper, gold, tellurium. These are very unique deposits in the fact that you get a lot of different metals. They're very tightly controlled, and they form in thick lenses or pods, massive sulfide pods. So for us as a company, they're fairly cheap to explore for, and they have a very high reward. So what we see on market, companies like Foran Mining or Arizona Metals, you get a very good premium on discovery and on resource with these types of deposits. So we find them very attractive. We have access to Greenstone Belt in Wisconsin that is very, very rich in VMS deposits. And so we want to go out, we want to build resource, and we want to make new discoveries. And so that's really the focus for GreenLight Metals. Okay, let's take a bit of a deep dive into Bend. So this is a project that we own 100% of. It sits about 19 miles away from the town of Medford. It sits on a bit of a highland, so it's fairly dry. There isn't much wetlands directly in the drill area. Historic work on the project. There's been about 7.5 million US invested in the project to date. So that's about 21,000 meters of drilling across 53 holes. A lot of that was done in the 90s by a company called Jump River joint venture. And then follow-up drilling was done in 2012 by Aquila Resources. So if we look at the historic resource, it's around just over 4 million tons. It's averaging around 2% copper, 2.3 gram per ton gold. So really nice high grade deposit. You can see some of the historic drill results here. They range from that 30 or 25, 30 to 60, almost 70 meters in that half a percent copper up to 1% copper and over a gram per ton gold. So this is very consistent deposit. The grade distribution is very consistent. And so, we're very excited to start drilling it. And we think that we can get similar results to these and really start to expand this deposit along strike and start to grow what we would like to see as a 15 to 20 million ton resource as we start to advance it. So you can see on the plan view map here, 330 meters of strike. We have a VTEM anomaly that runs 1.5 kilometers away from that. This is the private land parcel that we have access to. So we have it under lease. It's a 20-year lease with Sioux Line, which is a subsidiary of CP Rail up in Canada. And so the first phase of drilling is these green drill holes. So really focused on defining this extent along strike. And then our program that we have planned for the fall includes some infill drilling here, and then big step out holes here to test this equivalent horizon or this VTEM anomaly along strike. There's also a parallel VTEM anomaly that runs just over here. And as I mentioned, VMS deposits, they typically form in clusters. So we have 3 drill holes planned out here to test this. So we really do think that this could turn into a very big deposit. And so these first couple phases of drilling are to show that, and then follow up with the larger resource drill out program. Our Reef project here, again, just want to highlight some of these exciting drill results from 2012. So 65.2 meters at 2.8 grams per ton. That's within that's a broader mineralized zone. Within that is a high grade core of 8.9 meters at 13.14 grams per ton. So some really, really nice high grade drill results here from 2011, 14.8 meters at 14.41 grams per ton. So about 5.2 million has been invested in this project. It's seen very limited drilling overall, certainly open along strikes, open down dip. So that's really a focus for us as we start to drill it in 2026. You can see the model that we have here. So these are the main vein structures in gray. Is that historic resource of 100,000 ounces. And the drilling that was completed in 2012 was really focused out in this area along strike. So further to that, our drill plan would really be to step out here, continue it along strike, step out here, continue it along strike. So we want to see this thing have potential to grow to over a million plus ounces. So if we step out on those drill holes and we hit, we can start to piece it together and invest more money into growing a solid high grade gold resource there. So our Swede project, so this is a project that we're going to start doing geophysics on next week. It's a project that was discovered by Rio Tinto, as I mentioned before. It was a top priority target for them. And speaking with ex-Rio Tinto geologists that explored in the belt, this was their top tier anomaly. So we're very excited about this. We're going to complete geophysics on it. It'll probably take about a week. And then we'll start permitting it right away. So our goal is to have this drill tested come September, October this year. So hoping that we can make a nice big discovery, show that there's that potential in the southern part of the belt, and then start to chase more anomalies down in that area and look for new deposits. So Lobo and Lobo East, these are two high priority targets for us. The Lobo project, we own the project 100%, including the land and the house that sits on top of the land. So we own the real estate above it. It's a very high grade zinc rich deposit. So it was drilled in the late 70s by Noranda, 9.4 meters at 23% zinc, 1.4% copper, 1.8% lead, and over a gram per ton gold. So this is a project that has definitely caught our attention. We'd like to start permitting it probably in the next 2 to 3 months, with the goal of getting out there sometime in early 2026. Lobo East, again, 470 acre property, no drilling on this property, but a very nice coincident mag-EM anomaly. In this area, these types of anomalies have been drilled. Same style anomaly at Lobo, same style anomaly at Crandon, intersected massive sulfide. So we strongly believe that this has the potential to be a new discovery for GreenLight. Okay, so the investment highlights here, I think the key messaging to investors is that we have excellent geology. We have a belt that is extremely underexplored, with a ton of great assets and anomalies that we're going to go out and aggressively chase and go do exploration on. We have a growth strategy here. We see the potential for Bend to become a real economic resource. And so that's really the major focus for us right now. But we have the chance to make significant discoveries in this belt, discoveries that are missing. So that's what really excites us as an exploration team and as a management team, is the potential to go and make new discoveries. The first mover advantage, this is really key. We've had the opportunity over the last 4 years to handpick the best assets, the best anomalies in the belt, and we continue to do that. We have another project that we're nearing acquisition on right now. I'm excited to announce that to the market soon. And then there's multiple other projects that we're looking at because this opportunity is too good to pass up. We have access to the best anomalies in the belt as the only company operating in the belt right now. A very unique position for GreenLight to be in. And we have the right team in place. We have we have Steve Donahue, who's focused on the permitting side. We have exploration and marketing, capital markets experience. So we've built a business. We're very excited to get going, to be trading now, and to start exploring right away. So as far as our drill program goes, we're waiting for the ground to thaw out at Bend. So we're hoping to kick off our drill program there in early June. And that is 2,300 meter program that'll take us into middle of July, early August, with the goal of kicking off phase 2 middle of September, kind of early October. I will just make a quick note on a couple projects that we do own outside of Wisconsin. So these are non-core assets for us, but they're very exciting assets. Kalium Canyon is a project in Nevada. So we own 100% of this project here. It sits in the Walker Lane district. It was initially staked as a part of a program by Origin Royalties looking for silicone analogies, and you can see the silicone discovery down there. It's an Anglo project. It's well over 8 million ounces now. It just keeps growing and growing. So Kalium Canyon was handpicked as one of the closest analogs to what silicone was when they discovered it. So we were able to get this project. We're currently talking to multiple partners, looking to get this thing funded and explored. So we're excited about this project, but it is secondary to us. So we are actively speaking with multiple groups to come in as a partner on this thing and help us fund the exploration for it. And our last project sits down in Arizona. It's called Sierra, Colorado, and this is a project we have under option right now. It's a very large project. It's 5,600 acres. It sits in a pretty prolific copper porphyry district in Sierrita mine, which is a big one, Mission as well. So this is a project that we don't have any work plan for right now. Again, we are looking for a partner on this, and we've been speaking with a few groups. This is a project that needs a lot of deep drilling to discover these porphyry systems. So we'd like to get funding through partnership to be able to go and make a nice big porphyry discovery at the Sierra Colorado project. Awesome. Okay, thanks, Magda. Let's go through some questions.
All right, thank you, Matt. All right, so one that just came in about drilling. So the drill programs for 2025, are you planning RC or core drilling?
So the drill program will be core. Yeah, it'll be NQ core. And so we're going to be working with taconite drilling out of Michigan, out of Minnesota, correction.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And then can you speak a little bit to how GreenLight was able to acquire the Wisconsin portfolio? Was it like done all in one go, or was it built up?
Sure. Yeah. So the Bend project and the Reef project came through an acquisition. So initially Gold Resource Corp purchased Aquila Resources, and they purchased it for the Back 40 project, which sits in the Pinokian Volcanic Belt, but it sits just on the Michigan side. And so Aquila had these assets, and they were spun out into GreenLight. And so Lobo and Lobo East came from a merger with a company called Can America, private company that was owned by Ewan Downey. And so we merged those two together, and that's how the portfolio came to be.
Okay, thank you. And then can you speak a little bit about how far apart the properties in the Wisconsin portfolio are? And looking way ahead, is there potential for a hub and spoke operation?
Yes, great question. Yeah, absolutely. There is potential for a hub and spoke model. The projects themselves, so Bend and Reef are probably around 150, 200 miles apart. So those would be the kind of the furthest extent. Lobo and Lobo East sit right next to each other. But from Bend, they're probably about 100 to 150 miles apart. So yeah, I'd say and Swede is about the same distance. So they're kind of all equidistant. So, one thing that we've discussed as a management team and discussed with Tom Tiffany, the congressman in northern Wisconsin, and the state government, is the potential for a hub and spoke style model here. So, you have multiple projects all spread out across the state. So you'd find an area that is a brownfield site, not close to any major water sources, kind of central in the central part of Wisconsin. And then you would build a facility there. The infrastructure across the state, as far as rail and highway, is very good. You have rail crossing the entire state. It is a dairy state, right? So there's a lot of infrastructure in place already. So that is a model that would likely work best for the state. It eliminates having to have tailings facilities at multiple projects, and it allows us to put it somewhere that is in an environmentally safe jurisdiction. Lowers our risk and allows us to bring multiple projects that maybe the CapEx would be too much to bring it into production by itself. It would allow us to bring those projects online and bring them to one facility.
Got it. Thank you, Matt. And then touching on Bend, you mentioned the copper zone and the gold zone. Where are these located to? I think you've had a section on slide 11.
Sure.
And are you focusing on one in particular?
Yeah, I can flip back here. Here it is here. Yeah, so the gold zone really kicks up down in this part. So it is zoned vertically, and the deposit dips at about 80 degrees. So it's a near vertical deposit. So the copper grades start to drop off a bit, and the gold grades really kick up as we get down kind of into the lower part of the deposit. We're not 100% sure why. That's it's a question we want to answer through this next drill program. And we're not sure if that's just one section of the deposit or if that's consistent across the entire deposit. But yeah, certainly it's a trend that we see. So you can see the average 1.2 million tons there is averaging 4.3 or 4.37 gram per ton gold. So it really kicks up. It's still very mineable underground. But yeah, we're not quite sure on the zonation of why that's happening. So that's a question that we're going to answer through the next drilling phase.
Okay, thank you. And then who are the past project operators, and do you have access to any of the historic core at Bend?
Yeah, absolutely. We do. So we have a core facility in Medford, about 19 miles from the deposit. Very nice core facility. It's a property that we own. It's a 40-acre property. So there's a core storage facility there with about 17,000 meters of core, of that 26,000 in great shape. So a lot of that 1990, 89 drilling. We still have all that core in core boxes in great shape. It hasn't deteriorated at all. We have the core locations for all those drill holes. So we are able to go back and resample those drill holes and bring them into compliance. And part of that phase 2 drilling will be to do some confirmation drilling within there as well.
Okay, thank you. And then just one more question on Bend. I see you have high tellurium concentration. Are you able to
Yes.
speak how that could be advantageous for GreenLight?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do you have a sense of how much the content is?
Yeah, so on the previous programs, it never assayed for. We went back and we took a couple hundred samples and did some analysis on them. The average grade is around 230 gram per ton tellurium, which is nice. It's nice high grade. So it's it's a bonus byproduct in this deposit, which is fairly rare for these VMS systems to have this high tellurium. And I would suspect that is the reason why we see such high grade gold is probably through the tellurides. There hasn't been any work done on recovery or metallurgy of them, but that's something that we're gonna look at certainly. So 40% of production of tellurium across the world is using solar panels. So it's a very important metal. And we've seen deals. Rio Tinto just did an offtake with one of the largest solar panel manufacturers in the world to take all their byproduct tellurium. That was a pretty lucrative deal for Rio Tinto. So there is, yes, absolutely. The tellurium, we need to do a bit more studying on it, understand where it's coming from and if it's recoverable. But it is there's very, very high grade tellurium in this deposit.
All right, thank you. And then I see one more question about historic data. I think it's referring to Bend while we're on this. Is the
Yeah.
historic data of sufficient quality, standards, blanks, duplicates to use in NI 43 101 resource calculations, or would you need to do any re-drilling to validate the historic mineralization?
Yeah, so the 2012 drilling by Aquila is all compliant. We would be able to use that in a resource. The 1990 drilling, 8990, we would have to go back and do a lot of resampling to bring it into compliancy. And then yes, we will be doing some confirmation drilling as well. That is focused kind of in the main core area. So part of this section that you're seeing here to confirm those grades as well.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. And then one more on Bend. How big is your labor force at Bend?
Yeah, so we have a group called Great Lakes Exploration that is out in, I guess, just on the Michigan side, but have done most of the exploration in Wisconsin over the last 20 years. So they're going to be manning our drill program. So Eric Quigley is their kind of senior geologist, so he'll be running the drill program, and they'll be staffing a core cutter, geotechnician. So it'll be, it's a pretty small program. It's one drill. We'll have a cross-shifting senior geologist. We're bringing on another geologist as well. So they'll cross-shift each other. So a pretty small crew out there. There'll probably be 4 or 5 people in the core shack.
All right, thank you. And then just touching on Wisconsin as a state, thus far, how has GreenLight found Wisconsin as a state to work and explore in?
Yeah, look, it's a very fair state. Going through the permitting process with the DNR has been very good. They're very strict on the environmental side, which we appreciate. And if you do things right, you can get work done. And so that's really, as a company, it's extremely important that we do everything proper and we do it right. We really believe in this industry, and we believe that it is the future. The electrification of the United States, the transition away from fossil fuels, the importance for the domestic supply chain. It's all extremely important, and it's all really in our face right now with what's going on in politics. So yeah, what we've seen from the state is support, from the DNR especially, and we continue to work with communities and be transparent and let them know our plans, educate them on what we're trying to achieve, and so far we've seen a lot of support.
All right, thank you. There's one specific one about drilling. Will you need a casing advancer to drill the casing down?
Ooh, I'm not a driller, but I can touch on the overburden there. The overburden is probably around 20 to 30 meters thick. So just for the Americans on the call, just over 100 feet. That is a question for a driller. I've chatted with them, and they're pretty comfortable with the overburden. It's not quite like British Columbia where you have giant boulders. It's a little more like Ontario, where it's a lot of it's sand and silt. So yeah, they don't have any concerns about going through overburden.
Okay, thank you. And we touched on the state, and then is there any more details about the relationship with local communities with respect to Bend and Reef?
Yeah, so it's Taylor County is the county that Bend sits in. So we've gone to county meetings. We've reached out to a lot of different groups. So yeah, we've been very transparent and very engaging with the communities. And we've had some pretty good support. Of course, there's always going to be concern, and it's our job to ease those concerns, and we do that through communication and transparency. And our focus here is to keep the public informed on what we're doing. This first pass of drilling, it's one drill, and we're being very selective on where we put our drill holes to minimize any disturbance to the forest. We're also, under our permit, we have a lot of mitigation for silt runoff, so storm runoff, and so we're using silt socks along the sides of the roads, and a lot of different mitigation measures to prevent any silt or any cuttings from the drill entering the surrounding forest.
Got it. Thank you. And then we touched on the communities, we touched on the state. Touching on the country, there was a recent US administration executive order back in March to increase domestic mineral production.
Yes.
How could this expedite permitting for GreenLight projects?
Yeah, look, that's still a little in flux. And I mean, you got to remember, we're in kind of that early stage of exploration. I think where we're seeing support from a federal level is in regards to a mandate that came from Trump with NEPA review. So NEPA review form, basically, typically a NEPA review can take a year and a half. And right now, a lot of projects required for exploration, anything on Forest Service or BLM land. So something that the Trump administration is doing is pulling that timeline down significantly. I believe it's 14 or 28 days to get that NEPA review done. So, most of the exploration projects that we have in Wisconsin are on private land, and we're dealing directly with the state, the Department of Natural Resources. But our Bend project is a mix of federal land and state land, and so we are dealing with both on that. So yeah, look at I think what's happening, especially for projects like Resolution and some of these big copper deposits, it's a huge vote of confidence from the government. It's going to advance things and push things along. I think we're still a little early stage, but if that groundwork is laid out over the next couple of years, as we advance these projects and make production decisions on them, it's going to bode really well for GreenLight.
Got it. Thank you. One more drilling question. Will core orientation be used in this drill
Yeah.
program?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's never been done in the past on Bend. And so one of the things that we really want to figure out is the tectonic makeup, the structural makeup of the deposit. It appears to be folded, just based on geological models, but we need that oriented core to get the structural data. We're also going to do downhole EM as well. So really see if we can vector in, if the deposit faults or thins out, which direction is it heading? Where's the pod heading? Is there parallel pods of massive sulfide? We're going to use that EM to start to vector in as well.
Okay, thank you. And is there any water surrounding Bend or Reef?
Reef, no major bodies of water. Bend, yes, there's a river that flows about 1.5 miles, 2 miles down. That's, for us, obviously, when it comes to drilling, these measures that I talked about, putting in silt fencing, silt socks and things, really is to prevent any runoff from the drill site, entering ditches and things like that could go down to the river. But again, it's only one drill. It's a very small program. And so we can very easily manage that.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And can you tell us about, are you looking to make any changes to your portfolio in the near term? I think you've
Yeah, we're
hinted
looking,
at
like
the,
I mentioned, we're looking at assets, constantly looking at assets. I mean, there's so many anomalies across the belt. So yes, there's one that we're kind of at the final stages of negotiating for. We're hoping that we can announce that soon. And then there's, part of the next couple months, I have my geologists compiling old historic data, anything that's available, going to try and chase down old data, and we're gonna do a belt-wide kind of desktop study to look for other opportunities. We definitely have some highlighted right now that we'd like to start discussions on. But yeah, no, near term, yes, we have one coming up here quick, and then down the road we'll certainly be looking at other opportunities.
okay. And can you remind us of your current cash position?
Yeah, sure. So we raised a total of 3.7 million upon listing. After payables, I'd have to confirm exactly what date, but it's around 3.3 million in cash.
Okay.
And the drill program is just under $1 million Canadian.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And you're planning a couple of things for the different projects. Can you give us a sense of like what news flow we can expect over the next few months, heading into the summer?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess the catalyst that's coming up is our geophysical program that we're going to be running here in a couple weeks, or hopefully next week. The announcement, the start of drilling, kicking off here in early June, and following that up with results. We're also, as I mentioned earlier, we are looking to divest a couple projects that are non-core, while retaining upside and injection of capital into the company. So hoping to get some news out on those over the coming months. But yeah, I think the real big catalyst for us coming up is drilling. So that's really where this company kicks off, is that exploration, and then the announcement of permitting for Swede, following up on that geophysics, and then drilling Swede in the fall.
Okay, thank you. Was there anything else you wanted to cover today, Matt, that we didn't get a chance to get to?
No, I just want to thank shareholders for being patient over the last few years as we got everything organized here. We're excited to be public now. We look forward to delivering on good results, and shareholder money is hard to come by, so we really appreciate the support, and we're going to spend it wisely. We're going to go out and we're going to do good exploration work and deliver good results.
All right, well, thank you, Matt, for the update. Thank you to the
Yeah.
audience for joining us and submitting all your questions. If anybody has any additional questions or would like a follow-up, please email info@adcap.ca. And with that, thank you very much and have a great afternoon, everyone. Take care.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.